Hi, and welcome to my very first YouTube video. My name is Madeline, and this is Made by Madeline, a channel that I created to talk about all things knitting related. I've been knitting pretty obsessively for about 10 years now, and I'm really excited to share some of my projects and WIPs with you. As you may have seen by the title of this video, I have a number of WIPs that have accumulated over the last year or even years that I would like to talk about today. So all of these WIPs are either on the needle, so that's a WIP, or I have the yarn in stash for, and I'll call those my to be knit projects. Generally speaking, I like to have 3 to 5 projects going at a time, but for the last 8 weeks or so, I have been working pretty much monogamously on the tattoo flash cardigan that I'm wearing today. This is a test knit for Bea Creative Knits. I genuinely really enjoyed working on this project. I think it's my favorite thing that I've ever made. It's beautiful and it's absolutely my style. So this is knit in Cascade 220 and I chose the colors black and white. I believe the pattern comes out July 11th, I want to say, and some of the testers show some other really fun colors. I really think you should check it out when the pattern comes out. Before I started this project, I was really concerned about my ability to follow all of the charts correctly. I've knit a few other similar patterns. I've knit the tarot card sweater as well as the crybaby sweater, but those were single panels in stranded color work rather than, this sweater, every single panel has color work on it. But what I found was that it honestly, for me, wasn't too hard. There were no major sections of frogging and no real sources of frustration. I found that the pattern was written very clearly and very well, and I honestly had a great time. So thank you, Bea, for such a wonderful test knitting experience. So because the test knit put all of my projects on hold, and because I had started a lot of projects in late fall and the late winter of this year, there are, I believe, 12 WIPs and to be knit projects in my stash, which is a lot, and we really need to do something about this. So without further ado, let's talk about them. So I would like to start with the WIP that is the closest to being finished. That is my September slipover by Petite Knit, which I started in March of 2025. Apologies if you see me looking over here. I have the specs for all of my projects on my iPad. So this is knit in Tynn Pure Gynt and Tynn Silk Mohair in the shade Deep Forest Green. And I knit this on US size 4 needles. As you can see, it's a little bit crumpled from being in my stash for such a long time. But she is so close to being finished. I had an absolutely great time knitting this up. It knit up pretty quickly, but since I finished it, it has been stalled for a long time, and here's why. The neckline for this slipover is a double folded collar. When I initially folded the collar down and sewed it, I sewed it far too tight. So this is for my partner. I'm not sure if I'd mentioned that already, but she could not get it over her head, which is terribly unfortunate and frustrating. So I put it down for a little bit and then decided I wanted to really finish it and give it to her. So foolishly, how I decided I was going to fix the too tight sewn bind off, I decided that I was going to come up to this folded part and cut and then rip all the way back to the picked up stitches. What I failed to consider was that I wasn't cutting the bind off, so the bind off actually stayed. So then I had to go and pick that out. And as I was picking out the bind off, I noticed that I cut a few stitches that I should not have cut. And because this is a top-down slipover, if something is cut up here, obviously the stitch could fall all the way down the whole slipover, which is a massive problem. And because the strands that were cut were so short, and this is a part of the sweater that gets stretched pretty often as you put it over your head, obviously this became a huge concern for me. So I spoke to my mom, who actually has been knitting far longer than I have, and I brought it to her, I believe over Thanksgiving of last year. And she was able to fix the one strand that I had identified at the time, which was amazing, and I really appreciate her for doing that. Then I got home and found another strand that had been cut that wasn't supposed to be cut. And let's see if I can, it's this one right here. So obviously it's far too short to just tie a piece of yarn onto it and, tuck that end in. So I do not know what I'm going to do, but the least that I could do is start tucking the ends in so that that's the last thing that needs to happen. It's already been blocked. It's literally just the end and that one repair. So she's so close to being done. I really want to be able to give this to my partner. I know she's been waiting for it. I don't think she'll be wearing it anytime soon, considering that it's June and we live in Boston and it's 88 degrees today. But I just would love to get this out of my pile of WIPs as well. So the next project that I have to talk about is the Sadie top by Woozy by Celine, which it looks like I started on February 21st of this year. So this is what she's looking like. We have a body and we have one sleeve and we have maybe a third, maybe a quarter of this sleeve. So this top is knit in Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the shade Licorice, which I love. I love anything in the shade black. I love knitting with black. It's my favorite color to wear. So I am working on the final sleeve right now. My parents for Christmas got me the Addy Click short interchangeable needle set. So I have been using that on this sleeve, which is really cool because there is absolutely no need for DPNs or for magic loop or for traveling loop. Everything fits perfectly on the short cable with the short needle. I am using for my left needle a US size 10 and for my right needle a US 10.75. I believe the pattern calls for 10.5 on the right, but I didn't have 10.5, I had a 10.75 and it's been just fine. It hasn't caused me any issues. I have a larger needle on the right and a smaller on the left so that I can slip the stitches up this left needle a little more easily. Knitting in one strand of mohair can be a little bit more challenging and slow than knitting with like a normal strand of wool or alpaca or whatever. So that is the only reason that this one did not just get immediately finished. I just got honestly a little sick of pushing all that mohair up the needle and my hands got a little bit sore. So I took a little bit of a break from that, but I've been working pretty heavily on it over the last week after I finished this sweater. And I just have the end of that sleeve to go. So that is really exciting. I love the look of this top. I cannot wait to wear it. I'm not sure how I'm going to wear it. I don't know how warm the mohair is, so we'll have to see about that. You know, if I can get away with wearing it on a colder summer night or if this needs to wait for the fall, I'm not sure, but I'm really excited to have this finished and to be able to wear it. Next up is my Champagne cardigan by Petite Knit. It looks like I started her in January of 2026, and it's knit in the Noro Saiun yarn in the shade Kori, which I bought at the New England Fiber Festival in November of last year. I love this yarn. It is so awesome watching it knit up and change colors as it goes. There is this one colorway that I really like in here, this black and white, that I think is really cool, and so every time I get to knit with part of the yarn that's that color, I get really excited. So it's been very fun and addicting to knit this up. I believe I was knitting this on US size 7 needles, which I think I had to confiscate for another project. Obviously this is just on cords for now. This is a raglan cardigan, which I chose to make so that the self-striping yarn would self-stripe more evenly as opposed to, you know, doing panels and having big color pools here. And I really like the way that it's been looking so far, and I think it feels great. It's maybe a little bit more on the rustic side, but this is something I would be wearing, you know, a shirt under anyways. This needs a button band and 2 sleeves to be finished, as well as maybe a collar. I'm actually not sure how the pattern says to construct the button band and collar. It may be done continuously or it may be separate, I don't know. So we'll have to see. And the other thing is that I actually don't have buttons for this just yet, and I really don't know what direction to go in with any buttons. This cardigan was my first cardigan that I actually finished. These are the only buttons I've ever bought, so I don't know where to buy cute buttons, honestly. So if anyone has any suggestions of where I could buy buttons or what color you think would match well with this, I would love to hear it. So I will get working on this one after I finish my September slipover and my Sadie top. I would really like to get this one done. The next WIP is the one that I am honestly the most ashamed of. This is the Gambit Jumper by Ronti Studios, which it looks like I started in December of 2022. I believe I put her down in probably February of 2023, and she has not seen the light of day since. I just took her out to film this video. This is what she's looking like, and trigger warning, hella ends. So this is the front, and this is the back. And I'm not liking how that's looking. I like the front. I also have a back panel here. Oh, sorry, this is the front panel. I won't show you the back because it looks the exact same as the back of the other one I just showed you. And then I have this much of a sleeve. I believe I worked the front and back panel with no issues. And then I got to the chart for the sleeves, which obviously has some decreases as it goes down. At the time, I wasn't really using charts all that much, and I think I got confused and did not remember where I was on the chart, or I forgot where I did a decrease, and I just stopped, and I really stopped. I haven't touched it since then. So this is one that I need to figure out where I was. I may just frog the whole sleeve. I don't really know. That might just be the easiest way to solve it, or maybe I can figure it out. I'm not really sure. So this one is knit in Berrocco modern cotton, as you can see here. I have no idea why I picked cotton for this project. I don't really think that I thought about it. I don't think I had ever used cotton, and I haven't even since this project. I think that I decided I wanted a black and white sweater, and I found whatever Aran weight yarn that I could find on the website, and here we are. That being said, I am really enjoying how this fabric is feeling. Obviously, it's much less heavy than something knit in a wool or something with mohair. So I could see this being actually really great for, you know, a summer evening or for early fall. Also, I love this pattern. Like, I love how this looks, and I really do want it done. It's just that I wasn't enjoying the intarsia all that much. I clearly am not very neat with my bobbins, because what is this? So I think I just need to get it together and decide that I'm going to finish and do it. So that being said, it needs the rest of this sleeves knit. It needs the other sleeve knit. Then I need to seam the front panel onto the back panel, seam the sleeves onto the body, do the neckline, block it, and then last of all, weave in all of those ends. Each of these squares has obviously two ends since it's intarsia. Maybe I didn't do something correctly, I don't know, but yeah, this is what it's looking like right now. This is going to be a real pain in the neck to finish, but that being said, I really do want the finished product. It's a very me style of sweater. So we will see if and when she gets done. Next up is the gorgeous Dagmar sweater, which it looks like I started in February of 2026. This is a knit that I'm very excited to give to my best friend. And can we talk about the color choice? She chose Sandnes Garn Gynt in the shade Sienna, as well as Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair in Forest Berry. And I think that this color combination is so gorgeous. I was really enjoying working on this project in February and in early March. I had a blast. Once I learned the cable pattern as well as this honeycomb pattern here, it was pretty easy, and I didn't really need to look at the pattern all that much. So that was great. Like I said, was having a blast. This came on vacation with me to Mexico. I knitted on it there. And I am really excited to have this one done. I have had no issues at all knitting on this sweater. I just obviously got sidetracked with other WIPs, this one included. I did tell my friend that this one is going to take a long time to finish, and she's being very patient, which is great. Like I've said, we live in Massachusetts. It's way too hot here to be wearing a sweater this time of year anyways. So I do want to finish some of my closer to being finished WIPs, as well as some of my other smaller projects before I get back into this one. And that is because I would like to be able to just dedicate myself to this and be able to relearn the cabling and the honeycomb pattern, just so that I don't really have to be looking at the pattern all that much. It's hard when you have it in your head and then you start on another project and then you go back into this project and you don't remember quite how, the honeycomb works, or the small cables or the big cables, whatever it is. So I am really excited to get this one finished and to give to my friend. She deserves everything, and I cannot wait to give her this sweater. My next collection of WIPs and tubey knits is related to these weekend hats that I knit for my partner and I last winter, maybe the winter before actually. This one is for my partner and then this one is mine. I decided that I wanted to knit us matching scarves and mittens or fingerless gloves to match with the hats so that we can go out in our hat, scarf, and mitten set and be the cutest couple in all of Boston. I started knitting my partner the Berlin scarf right here. This is in the Sandnes Garn Borstet Alpakka in the shade Equestrian Red. And this is knit on size 10.5 needles. I believe I'm through 2 skeins of yarn here, and I think the pattern calls for either 5, 6, or 7 skeins in total. So I am really not that far through it, and I started this one in September of 2025, so it's been a while. Unfortunately, while I'm going to love the finished product, I think, the process of getting there is just tedious. It's literally just a stockinette tube. You just go around and around and around, and it's not thrilling, you know? So this is, I don't know. I want to get it done so that we can wear it this fall and winter, but it's just hot right now and it's hard to even think about this project at all. So we'll see, but it is going to be good to have the finished product. I also want to knit myself one, also in the Borstet Alpakka. This is the shade Pink Lilac, which matches perfectly with the hat. That's on the needles and is also to be knit for mine. We'll see when we get to a finished object on that one. Relatedly, here are the mittens that I knit for my partner. These are in the Sandnes Garn Alpakka in a limited edition red, which matches also perfectly to her hat and to her scarf. These I knit in, let's see, November of 2025. These are knit on size 2.5 DPNs, which are my absolute mortal enemy. I do not enjoy knitting small circumferences. I do not knit socks. Even sleeves sometimes just feel like way too much. I just don't enjoy it, and DPNs are worst of all to me. That being said, I was able to knit 2 of these. One came out successfully. This is the second one that I knit. So this fits her like a glove. That's funny. And then this one is the first one, which I knit exactly to pattern. I don't know if my partner just has long fingers or something, but yeah, it's not long enough. And so what ends up happening is she'll put her hand in and there's all this webbing right here, because the thumb is just not long enough and this part isn't long enough. So I do need to fix this. Or maybe I think I have one more skein of this alpaca. Maybe I just reknit one, but that seems worse, honestly. So I guess all I need to do is go back to the start of the decreases right about here, knit maybe another inch or so, and then redo the decreases, and then I would go over to the thumb and just make it longer. This is the kind of project where, like, if there's an issue, it's gonna take me forever to fix it. I'm sorry, I don't like fixing my mistakes. I like creating and I don't like having to go back and fix things. Hence the September slipover sitting here for months, and as well as this mitten. That being said, I want to make myself some Chantal mittens as well. There's a fingerless version in the pattern that I think would work better for me since I do wear a lot of rings typically and I do have nails most of the time. I'm not sure that a full-length mitten is going to be the most comfortable for me. I think fingerless would be a little bit better. And then I can, you know, use my phone, do what I need to do as well. So that is also a to-be knit. I like to do my partner's first, and then mine will happen after that. Hopefully they'll be quicker since I don't need the, you know, the hand section. It's really just to about here, I think, the first knuckle or so. So the final project that I would like to talk about is the Sailor Slippers by Annie Sews, which, like everyone and their mother, I started in November of 2025. I started by knitting a pair for my dad. I was going to give them to him for Christmas, but unfortunately I didn't pay attention to the pattern and I ended up knitting them 2 or 3 sizes too small. So they are just not giftable to him. Then I decided I was going to knit a pair for myself as well as a pair for my partner. She got us matching robes for Christmas in this pink and burgundy color, and I wanted to knit some slippers to match those. Here is my progress on that. yeah, it's just the back panel. This is, as the pattern recommends, Drop Snow. This is the shade Bordeaux, and then this is the shade Pastel Pink, and I got the medium gray to do the soles in. I believe this is knit on size 11 needles, which is great. They knit up very quickly. I believe I did each of the slippers for the first pair in about 4 or 5 hours or so. So it really doesn't take all that long. My issue and the reason that I stalled out after the back panel is that I hate this yarn. It's fine. I think it works how it's supposed to, but I am a very tight knitter and I like to tension every single stitch. And when I pull on it, the yarn just breaks. It like disintegrates and breaks. And it drives me absolutely insane. That being said, when I was knitting the first pair for my dad and I was seaming the top panel onto the sole, I felt like every 2, 3, maybe 4 inches, the yarn would just split. And I was twisting it the way that you're supposed to, the way that it says in the pattern, and it still was just breaking. And maybe I was pulling on it too hard, but it became honestly extremely frustrating. So I did not like that. And then I did clearly start this, but I think I just was so over the yarn breaking that I did not continue with it. The other issue that I have is that I do not have an appropriate washing machine to get these felted in. I live in an apartment building and our washing machines lock when you shut the door. So I would not be able to go in and pull them out and check on them and make sure that they're felting appropriately or that they don't get too small. So I'm going to need to source a washing machine and find someone who will let me use their washing machine if they have an in-unit washer or dryer. If you're my friend and you're watching this and you have one, let me know. Thank you. So yeah, I need to finish this one. And then I have another 3 because I would like to obviously felt all 4 slippers for myself and my partner all at once. So yeah, it is exciting and I'd like to have them done. I think we're going to be super cute matching with our robes. But yeah, man, is it going to be a process to get there. So those are all of my WIPs and to be knits. I have put myself on a yarn buying ban until I finish I don't know, maybe half of these. I don't need more projects. I need to finish some of these, but once that's finished, I would like to knit myself a V-neck sweater in maybe a cotton yarn that I can wear summer or winter. So that's kind of my reward to get through all of these, is that I will be able to cast on something new, and I will be able to organize my yarn storage because there won't just be skeins and bags and projects everywhere. So this is really exciting. It's going to be a fun process and I hope to keep you all updated. If you would like to follow along with this process of me finishing my WIPs, please check out my Instagram. It's madebymadeline.tm and I will put it right here. I hope to also continue making videos and keeping everyone updated on where my WIPs stand. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in and taking the time to watch my video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.